My childhood sweetheart dated me for years just to test if I was after his money. He played broke the whole time. And his final test? He wiped out the $10,000 I'd been saving up. That was the money for my grandpa's surgery. I just stared at my phone at that text showing a zero balance. I couldn't move. I forced myself to stay calm and asked, Jiwei, where did the money go? Is there any way to get it back? The line went quiet for a long time. Then out of nowhere, he said, Han Juechen, what if I told you the money's gone? There's no getting it back. What are you gonna do? The second I heard that, my mind went blank. The money's gone. Grandpa can't have his surgery. I'm about to lose the last family member I have. I must have been quiet too long, because Song Jiwei said all casually, Xiao Chen, I know I should have told you first. That's on me. But the money's gone now. You're not gonna blame me for that, right? It wasn't even that much. I'll pay you back eventually. I didn't even let him finish. I just hung up. I stood in front of the hospital billing window like a ghost, completely zoned out. Then out of nowhere, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Han Wechen, bar room 302. There's a surprise waiting for you. It made zero sense, but something in my gut told me something was off. I stood there for a few seconds, then left the hospital and took a cab to the bar. At that very moment, Song Jiwei was at the bar with his whole crew of freeloaders, throwing an early celebration for our 1-year anniversary. Turns out, this was his big final test. The private room door slowly swung open. Everyone turned to look. The second Song Jiwei realized it was me standing there, he shot up from the couch and rushed over. His face was a mess of panic. Han Juechen, what are you doing here? He instinctively reached for my hand, but I pulled away. His expression dropped. He grabbed my arm and started explaining. Xiao Chen, it's not what you think. Just let me explain. I looked at this person who used to mean everything to me and just smiled. Song Jiwei, let's break up. My voice was soft, but there was nothing to negotiate. Song Jiwei froze, then started shaking his head like crazy. No, I'm not breaking up with you. Xiao Chen, I can explain, I swear. I peeled his fingers off one by one, still calm. Just let me go. I only want one thing. Give me my money back. After a year together, Song Jiwei knew exactly how I was. Once I made up my mind, nobody could change it. If I said it was over, it was over. But he couldn't let go, because I was the only person he'd ever truly fallen for. Xiao Chen, please, don't do this. I stood there, stone-faced, scanning every face in the room until my eyes landed on Lin Hao. From where he was standing, only I could see that smug, contemptuous smirk on his face. His lips moved slowly like he was mouthing, "You can't beat me." I looked away and said quietly, "Fine, then give me $10,000 right now. That's all I want." Song Jiwei winced. "Xiao Chen, can you just wait one more day? Tomorrow I'll give you whatever you want. Just not today. Please." I looked at him, exhausted and defeated. "Song Jiwei, I just want what was in my account. Give me my money back. After that, we go our separate ways and never look back." He was still trying to stop me when my phone suddenly rang. The second I saw the caller ID, I picked up without hesitating. Whatever they said on the other end, my face went pale. I turned to leave. Song Jiwei grabbed my wrist. "Han Juechen, I'm not letting you go." I fought back and yelled, "Song Jiwei, let go of me." He kept saying, "Stay, just wait until tomorrow. I'll give you anything you want." I turned around, slapped him hard across the face and said, "Song Jiwei, we're done for good." I pulled free and walked out of that bar without looking back. I bolted out of the bar in a panic. It was the middle of the night, barely anyone on the street, and cabs were nowhere to be found. That call had been from the hospital. Grandpa's condition had gotten worse and they needed me there immediately. When I heard that, I felt like my whole world collapsed. All I could think about was getting to that hospital as fast as possible. I didn't have the bandwidth to care about Song Jiwei's mess anymore. But I waited over 10 minutes and not a single car passed. Then, off in the distance, a Maybach slowly rolled into view. I was out of options. I took a breath and stepped into the middle of the road. The screech of brakes shattered the silence. I slowly opened my eyes and saw that Maybach stopped less than 2 inches from my body. It almost sent me flying. No time to be scared. I ran to the car and banged on the window. It rolled down and the driver looked at me shaken. "Hey, you okay, man?" I was on the verge of tears. "Sir, I'm fine. Please, can you give me a ride to the hospital?" The driver glanced back at the rear seat, unsure. There sat a woman with a sharp, ice-cold presence. I knew I needed her say-so. So I walked to her window and knocked gently. "Excuse me. Could you please give me a lift? My grandpa is in critical condition. I need to get to the hospital right now. Please, I'm begging you." The driver's face visibly softened. Then a clear, cool voice cut through. "Get in!" The driver relaxed and was about to wave me to the front seat, but the woman in the back spoke again. "In the back." The driver snapped out of it and hurried out to open the back door for me. I was in too much of a rush to care about anything else. I jumped straight in. The moment I sat down, a faint, clean scent surrounded me and slowly started to settle my panicked, racing heart. "Thank you. Seriously, thank you." Tang Zixuan glanced at me and gave a quiet The car flew down the road, and half an hour later it pulled up smoothly right in front of the hospital. I barely managed to throw out a thank you to Tang Zixuan before I jumped out and sprinted toward the OR. The driver watched me go, opened his mouth to say something, but Tang Zixuan had already pushed the door open and was walking into the hospital. He didn't dare hesitate and followed right behind. They found me quickly. standing outside the operating room doors. Grandpa had already been taken in for emergency surgery. Not long after I arrived, a nurse came rushing out telling me to go pay the surgical fees. I held the billing slip so tight my fingertips turned white, because I had absolutely nothing to pay with. That's when Tang Zixuan's voice came from behind me. "Old Lee, go handle the bill." Old Lee stepped forward immediately, pulled the slip right out of my hand and took off toward the window. I just stood there staring at Tang Zixuan, eyes going red, voice breaking. "Thank you. I mean it. Thank you so much." Tang Zixuan's expression stayed cool and calm, but she reached into her pocket and pulled out a clean handkerchief, holding it out to me. "Don't mention it." I took it, feeling like something was stuck in my throat. All the hurt I'd been holding in for days burst open all at once because of one kind act from a total stranger. Tears kept hitting the floor one by one. Tang Zixuan just watched me, not a single word. She just stood there quietly by my side. Old Lee came back a few minutes later, shot a glance at Tang Zixuan, then came over and patted my shoulder. Hey, no more crying. Everything's been paid for. Your grandpa's gonna be just fine." But I couldn't stop the tears. Old Lee looked at me falling apart and thought of his own son. It hit him right in the chest, too. Tang Zixuan caught his eye and gave him a look. He got the message, walked over to her for a quiet word, then headed off with a smile. A few minutes later, Old Lee came jogging back with a bag and pressed a hot cup of bubble tea into my hands. "Here, kid, drink something warm, settle your stomach." I was wiping my eyes, about to thank him, when he said, "It was the miss who sent me to get it." I looked over at Tang Zixuan. "Thank you." That night, I honestly lost count of how many times I said those two words. 2 hours later, the OR doors finally slid open slowly, and the doctor stepped out. I rushed right up to him. "Doctor, how's my grandpa? Is he okay?" The doctor's face said it all before he spoke. "Mr. Han, I'm so sorry. We did everything we could." My legs gave out. I nearly hit the floor. Old Lee caught me just in time. The tears came flooding back. The doctor had seen this 1,000 times. He said gently, "The old man still has a little time. Go say your goodbyes." Grandpa was wheeled out shortly after. I followed him back to the room, and Tang Zixuan and Old Lee came along too, but stopped at the doorway and didn't come in. Inside the room, I pressed Grandpa's weathered, cracked hand tight against my face and held on as hard as I could, like if I just held on tight enough he wouldn't leave. But deep down I knew I was only fooling myself. "Grandpa!" My voice cracked. The old man in the bed was pale as paper, but when he heard my voice, he slowly opened his eyes. He saw how red and swollen mine were, and a warm, gentle smile spread across his face, the same one he'd always had. He reached up and touched my cheek. "Why are you crying? Did someone hurt my Xiaochen? Tell Grandpa. I'll set them straight." The tears just kept falling. I couldn't stop them no matter what. "Grandpa, please don't leave me, okay?" Grandpa's eyes glistened too. With great effort, he lifted his hand and gently stroked my head. "Grandpa can't stay with you anymore." I begged him through my sobs. "Grandpa, please, I'm begging you, don't go." Soft cries spilled out through the hospital room walls. Even Old Lee, big tough guy that he was, had tears in his eyes. Tang Zixuan kept her composure, but her gaze never left me. Then suddenly she said, "Send the straw to the lab for testing." Her quiet, steady voice carried down the empty hallway. Old Lee blinked, then snapped to attention. "Yes, miss." He picked up the bubble teacup I'd been drinking from and walked away. Tang Zixuan kept her eyes on me through that hospital room window and murmured almost to herself, "Is it you?" Inside the room, I gripped Grandpa's hand like my life depended on it. My heart was being torn apart. Grandpa watched me break down and his own tears started to fall. He gazed at me with so much love, his voice barely above a whisper. "Such a shame I won't get to see my little Xiaochen get married. Where's Jue? Isn't he here with you?" The second Grandpa mentioned Song Jue, my eyes shifted away. Grandpa didn't push it, but something in his expression told me he already knew. He just let out a slow, quiet sigh.